These are the 7 signs. Your spirit guides are trying to contact you. You ever get the sense that something is trying to reach you? Not a person, not a sound, but a presence. You hear your name, but there's no one around. You think of someone, and suddenly they text you. You walk away from something you wanted, only to realize later you were being protected. What if none of that was coincidence? What if you've been receiving guidance all along, but didn't know how to recognize it? Spirit guides don't speak in thunder. They speak in patterns, repeating numbers, sudden calm, a song on the radio at just the right moment. They use the subtle, because that's where your soul listens best. In the next few minutes, you'll learn to recognize the signs, so the next time they reach out, you'll know exactly what's happening. Not imagination, not luck, but guidance, real, quiet, and constant. You feel like something's trying to reach you, but can't explain it. Sometimes it begins as a whisper, a soft pull in your chest, a shift in energy that doesn't match the moment you're in. You're not anxious, but something feels active, almost like someone is watching, not with judgment, but with purpose. There's no voice, no vision, no words, just a sense that you're being gently tapped on the shoulder by something unseen. You might experience this as random thoughts that interrupt your usual thinking, ideas that feel placed rather than created. Or maybe it's a recurring nudge to reach out to someone, take a different road, or pause before making a decision. When spirit guides reach out, they often begin with energy before anything else, a field of attention pressing into your awareness. It's subtle, it's patient, and if you're not used to slowing down, you might mistake it for background noise. But once you recognize it, you'll see it for what it is, a gentle signal from something that wants to help, without ever taking away your free will. You notice visual signs like feathers, lights, or repeating numbers. You walk down the street and see a white feather on your path, not once, but repeatedly. You glance at the clock, 11:11, again. A light flickers when you're deep in thought. You begin to wonder, is this all just random? Or are you being shown something? Spirit guides often use the visual world to catch your attention. They can't grab your shoulders and speak out loud, so they arrange the environment around you. Not to control you, but to redirect your awareness. Feathers, coins, flashes of light, and especially recurring number patterns are some of the most common ways guides let you know they're nearby. The repetition is intentional. They'll use what you notice most, because awareness is the doorway to contact. These signs aren't meant to be decoded like rigid puzzles. They're invitations, prompts for you to pause, to reflect, to ask, what was I just thinking about when this happened? Because often, the sign appears in response to a question your soul hasn't dared to speak aloud. And once you begin to acknowledge the pattern, you'll notice something strange. It starts happening more, not because the signs are increasing, but because you've finally started to see them. And you hear coincidences that match exactly what you needed. You think of a question, and seconds later, a song lyric answers it. You feel uncertain. Then a stranger says something that hits like it was meant for you. That's not randomness, that's response. Spirit guides don't always speak directly. Instead, they align moments. They place answers inside the world's noise, turning chaos into conversation. These moments are known as synchronicities, when your internal state matches external events in a way that feels too aligned to dismiss. A line in a movie, a sentence in a book, a podcast you didn't plan to hear, but it responds to something personal, specific, intimate. This is one of the most powerful forms of subtle communication because it respects your sovereignty. You're not being told what to do. You're being reminded that you're not alone. And here's the deeper layer. The more you engage with these moments, by reflecting, journaling, even thanking the experience, the more they unfold with clarity, not louder, just sharper. Because when you treat synchronicity as sacred, the invisible begins to speak more often and more precisely. You feel chills or temperature shifts. Without any physical reason, you're sitting in a quiet room, no window open, no air conditioning. But suddenly, a chill moves through your body, not from outside, but from within. Or maybe it's the opposite, a sudden warmth around your neck, shoulders, or hands, like a presence just entered the room and brought comfort with it. Spirit guides often communicate through sensation. When they get close, your energetic field reacts before your mind catches up. The body, being far more sensitive than your thoughts, registers the shift instantly. These chills, tingles, or heat flashes aren't random. They tend to show up at very specific moments. When you're thinking of someone, making an important choice, or feeling overwhelmed. They arrive as confirmation, as reassurance, as a signal, we're here. Some people experience these physical shifts during prayer, meditation, or even during a moment of despair, when guidance is most needed. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a single goosebump, a wave that starts at your spine and moves like a whisper down your arms. Learning to trust these signals requires presence, because they don't last long. They ask for your immediate awareness. But once you recognize them as contact, you'll understand something vital. You're not imagining the presence. You're receiving it. You have dreams with symbols, figures, or animals you can't shake off. Some dreams fade within minutes. Others stay with you for days. Not because they were dramatic, but because they meant something. A figure you've never seen before, looking straight at you. An animal that follows you from one dream to the next. A symbol, simple, but persistent. It doesn't go away. It echoes. Spirit guides often use the dream state as a communication channel. Why? Because in dreams, your ego sleeps, your defenses are down, and your deeper self is awake. In that space, they can send what your waking mind might dismiss. Messages in the form of metaphor, guidance wrapped in archetype. Sometimes the dream makes no sense logically, but emotionally, it leaves a mark. Pay attention to repetition. If a specific image, animal, or message keeps returning across different nights, that's not dream logic. That's spiritual contact. Your guides may be trying to initiate a memory, awaken a direction, or call your focus to something you've ignored. The key is to not overanalyze, but to observe the feeling the dream brings. Did you wake up peaceful, confused, shaken? Often the emotional residue is the true message, and when you treat your dreams as dialogue, you'll realize you've been having conversations for years. You just didn't know anyone else was speaking. You think of someone, and they suddenly reach out. You're washing dishes, walking, doing something ordinary, and suddenly, someone comes to mind. Not a fleeting thought, a strong pull toward that person. A few hours later, your phone buzzes. It's them. This is one of the clearest examples of energetic alignment. And when it happens consistently, it often means your spirit guides are acting as bridges between your energy and someone else's. Guides don't control people, but they orchestrate timing. They nudge, align, and create opportunities for connection when it's spiritually relevant. When you receive that call or message right after thinking about someone, ask yourself, what emotion was I holding when they came to mind? Because that emotion is often the reason the energy moved. You weren't just remembering them, you were tuning into their field. And sometimes it's not even about the person, it's about what that person represents: a lesson, a reflection, a signal to revisit something unfinished. When this kind of synchronicity repeats, it's often because your guides are helping you reconnect threads, not just to people, but to parts of yourself that those people activate. The more conscious you become of these patterns, the more you'll stop calling it coincidence and start calling it conversation. You feel sudden peace in moments you should be anxious. There are moments when your heart should be racing, when your mind should be spiraling. But instead, you feel a calm that doesn't make sense. It's not numbness, it's not denial, it's clarity without logic. Spirit guides often offer their presence through energetic regulation. They don't take the situation away, but they help stabilize your system so you can move through it with wisdom instead of panic. This kind of peace tends to arrive in the in-between, right before a big decision, right after receiving unexpected news, in the middle of grief, or standing at the edge of something unknown. And here's what makes it unmistakable. It doesn't feel like it came from you. It feels borrowed, but deeply loving. As if someone placed a hand gently on your back and whispered, "You've got this. Keep going." You may not even realize the weight you were carrying until it lifts. That shift, subtle but grounding, is often your guide stepping in. They don't need words, because your nervous system understands the language of safety. And once you've felt that kind of peace, you'll start recognizing its arrival not as random comfort, but as presence. You avoid something you wanted, then realize you were being protected. You wanted it. You planned for it. You were ready. But something stopped you. A delay, a miscommunication, an unexplained shift in plans. And at the time, it felt frustrating, like the universe was ignoring your effort. But then, something happened, something that made you realize, if I had followed through, it would have hurt. This is one of the most overlooked ways spirit guides intervene, not by blocking your life, but by redirecting your timeline. They don't always show you what you were protected from, but they help you feel the relief of not walking into what wasn't meant for you. Often the opportunity you lost wasn't aligned. The relationship that ended wasn't safe. The plan that crumbled was built on something unstable. And while you may not receive confirmation immediately, you'll feel it. That moment when your body exhales and your mind finally sees the bigger picture. The key is this: your guides won't override your will, but they will place obstacles when something isn't aligned with your path, not as punishment, but as protection. When this happens, don't ask, "Why was this taken from me?" Ask, "What was I being spared from?" You receive messages in stillness, silence, or surrender. There are times when your mind has no more plans, no more ideas, no more strategies, just space. And that's when the message comes. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable. Spirit guides often wait until the noise fades, because their frequency isn't broadcasted on chaos. It's transmitted through stillness. Maybe it's during meditation, a walk in nature, a moment of total surrender after tears, or just sitting in silence, not trying to control anything. Suddenly, a thought enters your mind, but it feels different, more like a knowing than a sentence, more like a remembering than a discovery. You didn't create it, you received it. This is the clearest space for guidance to enter, not when you're striving, but when you're finally open. You might not even recognize it as a message at first. It may feel like clarity, like a sense of direction you didn't have 5 minutes ago. But that's the signature. Calm, director, without resistance. The more you give space for stillness, the more your life becomes less about asking for signs, and more about becoming receptive to what's already being offered. You just know things, and later you're proven right. No warning, no logic, just a sense that something is about to happen. And then it does. You meet someone and immediately feel a yes or a no. You avoid a situation for no clear reason, and later discover it wasn't safe. You feel drawn to act on a hunch, and it leads you exactly where you needed to be. This is intuitive knowing. And when it happens with precision, again and again, you're not guessing. You're being guided. Spirit guides often work through your internal compass. They don't shout. They nudge. They align your emotions, sensations, and thoughts in a way that points you toward truth, before you can prove it. You may not always know how you know, but you do. And that inner certainty, that's not arrogance, it's connection. The more you listen to these downloads, the clearer they become. Because guidance doesn't need explanation. It just needs acknowledgement. And when you stop second-guessing what you feel, you become exactly what your spirit guides hoped for. A clear, available, grounded channel for wisdom to move through. Not with force, but with trust. They're already reaching out. The question is, are you noticing? You've heard the whispers. You've felt the chills. You've seen the patterns and thought, that's strange. But it wasn't strange. It was sacred. Your spirit guides don't knock loudly. They don't demand. They offer. They place signs in your path, not to control your choices, but to remind you you're not walking alone. And maybe you've dismissed them. Maybe you've doubted. Maybe you were told it was just your imagination. But deep down, you know better. Because the more you slow down, the more you feel it. The quiet presence, the subtle hand, the message you didn't think you were ready for, but needed more than anything. And now you've seen the signs. You've felt the presence. You've remembered what your soul never forgot. They've always been reaching out. You just needed someone to tell you, it's real, it's happening, and it's time to respond. The next message is waiting. If this video stirred something in you, drop a comment below. What's one sign you've experienced but weren't sure how to explain? Your story might be the confirmation someone else needs. And if you're ready to take the next step, my next video will show you how to open a direct channel to communicate with your spirit guides consciously and know when the answer comes. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because the next message may not come through this video, but through you. And when the archives open again, you'll feel it. Until next one, Astral Archives transmission complete.